Hi, my name is Pascal. Today we are going to do a quick review of the Smolov squat routine. I personally did the routine in 2016 and I think that I did it too early in my lifting development, and I would also doubt that you should do it at all because it is a very single-minded program. So I will talk through different points of why I think that way. If you are interested in the program itself and how it is structured, and if you want to run it yourself, please follow the links in the description box below, because there you really will see all of the numbers, which can get a bit tedious in a video like that. Smolov is a 3-month routine where you will fully focus on the barbell squat. So this is a really single-minded program that is designed around breaking a plateau in your squat to then move on to greater and bigger things. So whenever you feel like you are stalling on your squat, it is a very, very likely cookie cutter program to turn to. But is that really the best option, and should you really be doing it? Well, my quick answer to that is no. Now, why am I saying that? Most sports that will incorporate the barbell squat usually either use the barbell squat as an accessory movement to actually develop more strength overall. So that would be Olympic weightlifting for the snatch and clean and jerk, most specifically. Or they have the barbell back squat as part of the sport itself. That would be powerlifting, where you do the barbell squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And for all other sports, you usually want to support your performance within that specific sport with the barbell squat. So there are very, very few applications actually where you will be using the squat only as the be-all, end-all measuring stick for success. Therefore, running a program that solely focuses on that purpose is, for most cases, counterproductive. The only exception from that rule is if you want to break a squat world record. Then something like Smolov might be a good thing to look at, considering that you don't want to overload yourself and injure yourself. When I ran Smolov in 2016, I increased my max on the squat from 150 to 170 kg at 88 kg body weight. So if you look at this isolated, that is actually quite a decent result. And also if you look at other reviews and reports about the Smolov program, you will see that it works for what it has been designed for, which is increasing your squat. Now, there is one little caveat around that. You will only read in here about the successes. It is way more likely that somebody will take the time to write something down when their experience with the program was either very, 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 very positive or very, 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 very negative, because that usually drives action. So what you won't see is everybody who stopped the program and just turned to something else without injuring themselves, or because they, just thought that they're moving on to something else. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the information online, that it is most likely with a single-minded program like this, very heavily biased towards the most positive outcomes and also very heavily biased towards the most negative outcomes. The biggest danger with Smolov, from my perspective, is that it gives you a warped perception of your 1 repetition maximum. Now, what do I mean by that? When you run a cycle of Smolov and you end up with a new repetition maximum, it represents a maximum that assumes that the only thing you're doing is squatting. Now, I repeat that. You will look at a 1 repetition maximum where the underlying assumption is that the only thing you do in the gym is squatting. So that means that your 1 repetition maximum is way blown out of proportion compared to any normal status you might be in this gym. Now, what is a normal status in the gym? Most people will do more movements than just the squat. because whatever they compete in, whatever sport it is, will demand more than just the movement pattern than of the squat to be successful. So while you will blow up your 1 repetition maximum within these 3 months, most definitely, if you stick by it, if you take care of yourself, if you stay healthy, and know the gates of hell won't open if you do Smolov and instantly burn you to ashes, it's not that bad, just, be considerate about it, then you will carry that 1 repetition maximum over to a different program where you will have a more balanced approach. And what that will result in, I will tell you next. So personally, I ran a cycle of Smolov directly followed up with the cycle of Smolov Jr. And I blew up my numbers to 170 kg in the squat and 150 kg on the bench press, with a belt on, knee sleeves on, reps, like anything you could possibly put on to stabilize your body. Now I have similar maxes in 2021, but I don't use any equipment whatsoever. And what happened was I then moved on to the west side method after I ran these Smolov cycles and just carried over the maximums that I had acquired during that phase of my 4 months training, 3 months of Smolov and 1 month of Smolov Jr. Now what happened on the west side cycle? Because my 1 repetition maximums were completely overstated because, they were a representation of only doing 1 movement, well, I injured myself quite badly, and it took me really up until now, and I still haven't recovered from that because I misaligned a part of my lower back, and well, I can get surgery for it or get something a bit more out there that will take me out for half a year, but it was that bad of injury, and I brought it upon myself by blowing up, inflating my numbers with a program like Smolov and not even realizing it, because within the construct that I've created for my own training, I thought, yeah, well, I'm very powerful, this is great, and I built a base that actually was not as strong as I thought it would be. Of course, that begs the question then, if you hit a plateau, what to do instead of Smolov to break through a plateau? Well, there are quite a few other things that you can do to break through a plateau without risking that you're completely warping the perception of yourself. So one thing to do is increase volume. So get in 5 to 10 repetitions, so 5 sets by 10 repetitions at a fairly low weight at the end of your session to stimulate hypertrophy. Now, this will be less risky than going with a Smolov program because you're not focusing on a 1 repetition maximum, and it will still give you growth to build from a bigger base to then go for a new 1 repetition maximum. Now, why do I think that works? Well, it worked for me. I switched from the powerlifting AI program to the power building AI program from Juggernaut Training Systems. And since I've done that, which basically means that more volume and lesser intensities, I've seen very, very good results for my 1 repetition maximum and my overall strength. Now, of course, everybody is different. Keep experimenting. But I think an experiment to run on hypertrophy is way safer and way more promising than running an experiment on going very single-minded on 1 lift to increase your 1 repetition maximum, especially if you go for the long haul. The other thing you can focus on is picking out your weak spots. Now, very likely weak spots when you're doing cookie cutter programs are the lower back, the upper back, the arms, and then also your rotator cuffs. Exercises to target those are for the lower back, the banded good morning, the good morning, reverse hypers. For the rotator cuffs, it's face pulls, kettlebell halos, or the shoulder rock. And for the upper back, I particularly like Yates rows, barbell rows, and Pendlay rows. Now, of course, everybody's tastes are different, but all of these exercises that I've just mentioned are often neglected and can be incorporated rather easily by finishing off each day that you have programmed with a 3x12 of one of these exercises where you see the most weakness for yourself. My Achilles heel is my lower back. Since I am targeting it more, I've breached through a 200 kg deadlift and also can now rep out 160 kg for the squat by 6 repetitions, which is something that, I would have been scared of, rather frankly, after I injured myself on the West Side method, which I mentioned earlier in the video. If you still decide to go with Smolov, then what I would recommend is, if you don't have a lifting belt yet, get one to protect yourself and also experiment with it for maybe a week or two before going on Smolov, so that you know how the breathing and bracing with a lifting belt actually works. That will protect you through the cycle, especially if you just assume the same run repetition maximum with the belt than what you had without the belt. Also get some squat shoes if you're currently just working with normal sneakers. Squat shoes have a more solid bottom, so the connection to the ground and the power transfer is better than with having air cushioning. This will also protect you further against injury if you were to do Smolov. Now, from an exercises point of view, before you start Smolov, if you've never done any type of squat negatives and box squats, I would also recommend that you test them out maybe for a week, maybe two, before you start your 3-month Smolov cycle. What are squat negatives? Well, basically, you load the barbell with 110, maybe 120% of your 1 repetition maximum, and then you unrack it and you slowly and controlled lower the barbell to the squat pins. Here you can also already see that this is a more of an advanced movement, because you have to grasp what your 100% is, and then you also have to be under enough control to descend in a way that you go to the safety pins. The idea is not to get a certain amount of weight on your shoulders, walk it out, and then just basically drop dead under it. That is not the intent here. Your muscles should be activated when you're descending. Now, the other movement to learn are box squats. Now, box squats are very, very popular with the West Side method and also with strongmen. Some of the powerlifting community don't use them that often anymore. Just depends on what kind of school of thought you are following. However, Smolov is using the box squat, so they are also get a box, know how to position it, and descend, practice before you go on to Smolov, because box squat, if you're not used to them and if you don't know how to set it up in your particular gym setup, it is something that can turn out quite dangerous if you just walk up to the bar, load it up, and then say, yeah, it's grand, I'll just squat to a box. You most likely will miss the box or misgroove the squat, and depending on how much weight you have on it, you might have a nasty ending there. Not a doomsday preach, just if you haven't practiced it before, try it before you go. Last thing to discuss about Smolov is what will happen to your other lifts. Now, I personally found that they didn't suffer that much on that 3-month squat cycle. I lost about 10% of my 1 repetition max, because I did test them afterwards, and you can also see that in the article if you want to follow the links below. Still, the biggest downside of Smolov was that I went away with this with a false perception of the strength I had. And I think the way it is set up, you're most likely certain to think that way, because you will leave on a high if you make it through the program without an injury and stick to it. And then you will carry it over into another program. And if you're not mindful about that and maybe deduct 10% of that new established 1 repetition maximum, you will walk into problems. I'm pretty sure of that. With that all being said, it is always good to mix up your program a bit when you think that you're stalling and you're plateauing and you can't get any further. There are just other things to consider before you go as extreme as Smolov. Still, try it once just to have done it at some stage in your lifting career, probably more down after lifting 5 years rather than just lifting 2 years than what I did, because Smolov is definitely something for the more experienced lifter. Will it kill you? No, it won't. Will it injure you? Yes, if you're stupid about it. Will it increase your 1 repetition maximum? Absolutely. Should you be mindful about the new 1 repetition maximum that you've established? Yes. So yes, in the sense of if squatting is all you do and then you switch to a program where you do more than just squatting, then probably you should peel back that 1 repetition maximum at least a little to account for that your volume will be considerably going down when you're switching off Smolov. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and tell your friends about my channel. Have a very nice day and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.